Hey guys, so like I said in my previous video, right, this is gonna be how to become a contractor, and these are the specifics. So, first thing foremost, each state usually has their own licensing and requirements, so results may vary. This is pretty standard across. I know that there's 10 states that fully adopt our same system. So, first and foremost, here it is. Taylor Smith, plumbing contractor, state of Oklahoma. So, one caveat is some states have general contracting licenses to start any construction business. Oklahoma regulates what they call life safety trades, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, roofing. But when it comes to drywall, framing, concrete, they're still bound under inspection, right? But you don't need a license for the responsibility. Now, what does the license bring? Well, obviously said accountability, right? So there's a lot of value in that. Value is one of my favorite words because you have to be willing to give something in return for something else, right? It's not all give me, right? So I'm gonna turn on this light and see if that does anything. I don't know. It may just blind me. Okay, so first and foremost is you have your code book, right? So this is the mechanical code. Again, I am a HVAC journeyman as well. I will be a contractor next year in that. Super excited. So it's really just regulation standards. Books, these tests are open book tests, right? They're timed. So on average, it's an 80 question test. You have 2.5 minutes per question to look at the question, be so familiar with this book that you know what section you need to get to talk about, and then just find the answer, right? It's not that complicated. Next, so the information I just gave you is for the journeyman test, which is your first set of licenses before contractor, where you can operate without supervision. And then also in these tests is an OSHA book. Now it's thicker than the Bible, right? Fortunately, the only questions that the testing vendor has under this is ladder, fire, and vertical safety, right? So it's like a very small portion of the book, but it's open book as well. So that'll be 4 questions. Now you have to get a minimum of a 75 in the plumbing and a 70 in the mechanical to pass. So, every question does count. Now, onto the contractor exclusive test. So, after you pass your journeyman in whatever trade you're in, you will then work a year, and then you will qualify to take your contractors. So the contractors test, you retake the whole code test again. It's a 3.5 hour test. You retake that, and then you have to get the same passing rate. Now, what's funny is, and this is obviously just off of one experience, but the code section of the plumbing contractor test was much more complex and fixture count oriented than my journeyman, if I recall correctly. Now, I got my journeyman in 2022, or 2021, I'm sorry, I was 22. I get those numbers confused sometimes. Okay, so after you retake your code then you will move on to the business and law and local regulation section. This one is a 50-question test. Um, you will need to get a NAS CLA Contractor's Guide. This book covers topics such as business planning, choosing business structure, managing risk, marketing and sales, bidding and estimating, contract management, scheduling, project management, customer relations, employee management, job site safety, environmental considerations, working with subcontractors, financial management, and business tax accounting. Okay, but here's the thing. That's all open book 2. Math, if you can multiply and divide and add and subtract, business math, that's all it is. I promise. Don't overthink it. If somebody says that X is 10% interest, then whatever that number is, just times it 1.1 or whatever, right? So then part of the local regulations. So for Oklahoma, it is Title 158, Chapter 30. It's basically going through the do's and don'ts, what you can do as a contractor, the insurances you're required to have, examination fees. Let's see. There is only like one big piece of material in here that had any sort of relevancy, and that's the restrictions of what a contractor can't do and what they can't do and what they define as a contractor, right? So let's say, so again, what is a contractor? A contractor now has the legal capacity to operate in the business as an individual or as a company in their perceived trade, right? And that's a requirement by the state to have it before you start a business. So a lot of these rules that they keep in here is really just leverage in the market so you're a contractor, a company needs a contractor, right? Your signature can be worth thousands of dollars, right? If you don't, we're gonna figure out how to cut. Anyway, right. So your signature can be worth thousands of dollars at the end of the day, right? If a company, here's how it would go. So you have your contractor markup. So if you have your own maintenance man for $25 an hour and it takes them 1 hour to fix the toilet, it's easy math. The company spent $25. If you hire a company, they need to make their money. So now you may be at $150, $200 an hour. And so your efficiency becomes 10x more by your maintenance man. Again, however, under this legal structure, which I'm blessed and grateful to have, right? You have to have some responsibility for the job, right? If something's not meeting code, if there's not a journeyman on site, journeyman is another, again, the license below, but really anybody needs a journeyman to operate in the business. Takes 3 years of apprenticeship to take your code test. School knocks it down to 1. So school for 1 year knocks out 2 years of your programming, or knocks out 2 years of your apprenticeship. So that's the general understanding of what a contractor is, how to actually become a contractor, and again, I'm just so excited to be one and continue growing in HVAC in that sense. And it's going to be a crazy ride, and I hope I brought you value through this walkthrough. Again, it varies state by state, but most states have a very similar procedure. So just look at your state. If you ever had any questions, that's what I'm here for. I want to help others grow, especially if they're considering the trades. Trades can be a lot of work, and it's daunting, overwhelming at times. But in the long form, it really makes an identity out of you, right? Who would you be if you made enough money to, not have to worry about eviction? I'm not necessarily guaranteeing, 7 vacations a year, but I know there's a lot of people out there who are in financial hurt, and I'm telling you, it's a really big level up. So if you're thinking about it, go for it. And other than that, I'll see you on the next one.